It's turbo time. Jolly old Arnold braves the pits of Christmas Eve shopping in the hopes of securing a very sold-out toy for his son, Anakin Skywalker. Join us for festive cheer, holiday capitalism, sleazy neighbours, and at least one very disgruntled postal worker. This is Jingle All the Way. It's turbo time! Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is David.
This is a sick world we live in. Sick people.
This is a movie podcast. We are doing a little Christmas season for December, and just like the last couple of episodes, this was another Patreon vote. 3 movies from the 90s were up, and the winner was Jingle All the Way from 1996. So yeah, we'll get into it. We'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It helps out a bunch if you do. And of course, you can rate us 5 stars on your podcast app. And you can support us over at Patreon or via YouTube membership and get bonus stuff and help keep the show coming. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So yes, Jingle All the Way, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about a father trying to find the hot toy on Christmas Eve that he forgot to buy for his son, who just happens to be Anakin Skywalker, but that's neither here nor there, and tries to,
Hayden Christensen looks really different in this one.
Not that one. The first one.
Ah, okay.
The little one from Phantom of the Menace. So, I mean, that's the premise. He gets into lots of hijinks. It's kind of an adventure movie, all things considered, because it's him going through the city trying to find this toy. He gets a bit of an arch rival in the form of a mailman played by Sinbad. So, yeah, that's the basic setup. We'll get into all, of course, into the spoilers and whatnot. But I guess before I ask if you like this or not, I should probably just say, is this one you watched as a kid? Is it one you've seen before? Or is this a first time? What's your status with this one going into this?
So I've definitely seen it before. I'd say probably 2 or 3 times, give or take. Definitely not one I remember growing up with. Now, I put that little remember on there because it entirely is possible that I did see this at a young age, but it did not make an impression on me enough of like, this is my core Christmas memory. Like, no, this is one that I discover years down the line again, and I say, that's a weird one. Schwarzenegger running around doing Christmas stuff. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I did grow up with this. I mean, but when this came out in '96, I was already a fan of Arnold. So, I had already watched the Terminator movies and, a bunch of his other films by that point. So it was kind of like, hey, I like Christmas. I like Arnold. This is a match made in heaven here. So, that was something that just appealed to me as a kid. So I grew up watching. I saw it a bunch of times as a kid. I had it on DVD. I had it on Blu-ray. And here we are today for the modern 4K viewing of Jingle All the Way, which, shockingly, really good 4K transfer, actually, which is just, it's not a movie you expect would have had a nice 4K transfer, but it's pretty solid, all things considered. So,
fair.
Yeah, just worth mentioning. But yeah, so we'll get into the business. David, what do you think of Jingle All the Way?
I think this movie is fine. I'm not gonna I have zero nostalgia for this movie, so already I'm going in with this just being how is this movie on just a pure Christmas themed idea? How much is on just filmmaking technicals and stuff like that? In terms of the Christmas message, I think it's good. I'd put it at that level. I'd say that, it's got a good message of spending time with the family, whatever like that. Strangely enough, it gives me the exact same tones in terms of messaging and kind of technicals as the Jim Carrey film Liar Liar that came out a year later. It feels like the exact same thing.
Very similar structure, I guess. Yeah, it's just instead of obviously the lying superpower part's not there, but yeah, I can see what you're saying in comparison wise.
Yeah. But in terms of everything else, I mean, I can see why some people, because it does not have a good rating on IMDb, I can see why some people would rate it as lowly as it does. But for me, I think it's kind of just in the same vein as the vacation films and stuff like that. Not so much on the comedy aspect, but just, we're just going to show some zany stuff. We're just going to do some weird stuff for a while, and then We'll cap it off with a big thing at the end that ties it all together, and there you go. There's your movie. It's not bad by any means, but I'm not going to come out here swinging the flag for it, saying like this is an all-timer Christmas special either.
It's a weird one for me to talk about because I do have nostalgia for it. I did grow up watching it, so it kind of firmly fits into the I love watching this. I love every second of it, and like regular critiques are mostly irrelevant. Although, to be fair to it, I do think that it was well paced. I do think it keeps moving. There's some good intentional moments. They know what makes Arnold funny, right? So they utilize that a lot, and how to make him look mad or make him look flustered and all those things that pay off. I think Phil Hartman is hilarious in this movie. He plays the neighbor who's got the hots for Arnold's wife, who in real life is Tom Hanks's wife, interestingly. All right. I did not know that until, because she was the only person out of the main cast that I didn't know. Like, I know Arnold, obviously. I know who Phil Hartman is. I even know who the kid is. I know who Sinbad is, relatively speaking. I'm like, who's the wife? And I looked her up, and like every photo she's with Tom Hanks, and I'm like, wait a minute. So, she's married to Tom Hanks and has been for like 30 plus years at this point. So,
yeah, her last name's Wilson. That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's very funny. That's
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't that was a sarcastic. That was funny for the record.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to assert that you, as the editor, put in a laugh track laugh there. Just really make it. Just sell it.
But I think Phil Hartman's hilarious. I think the movie has. I think it appeals to a very specific time and place, because not only is it an Arnold movie, right, which I loved as a kid. It's not only a Christmas movie, which I loved as a kid, but it also, the whole Turbo Man thing is very much based on something like Power Rangers, which I was also super into as a kid. So every like factor of this movie, I feel like it was designed for, 96, I was 7. 7-year-old me was targeted personally with everything that's in this movie, pretty much.
That's weird to me, because I feel like the message of the movie, the actual core when you get down to the theme, is supposed to relate a lot more with like the parents who had to go out and find the Tickle Me Elmo, or had to go out and find like the Pokemon stuff or whatever like that, whatever the new Christmas hotness was at the time. I feel like it's supposed to relate a lot more with them rather than, the flashy colors of a Power Rangers stand-in.
Yeah, but that's absolutely what it is, though. It's just way more inspired by a Power Rangers or something like that. I'm
just wondering, when you were a kid, were you really caring about the story? Was it something that like you were caring what was happening, or were you just kind of letting that wash over you and just having fun with it being Arnold and the Turbo Man stuff?
It's hard to say for now, but I think I cared about the story. I think I related to, because there's a scene at the start of this movie where he's watching the show that the Turbo Man is based on. It was very relatable to me as a 7-year-old. And then, I guess probably the closest parallel in real life to this is probably Buzz Lightyear, because when the first Toy Story movie came out, Buzz Lightyear was legitimately hard to find on the run up to Christmas because it was selling out everywhere. So, I'm sure people weren't doing zany things like this, but
you say that, I just had like a flashback. I had that Buzz Lightyear, I'm pretty sure. I wonder what my dad went through to get that for me.
But I don't know, like I think this movie is probably deserving of, it's not a masterpiece, it's not some classic necessarily, but I think it's probably deserving a little bit more respect than the rating in IMDb suggests that it has. Would be my honest sort of just appraisal of the situation. Before I get into just I'm nostalgic for it and I love, like, I can quote half this movie at you because almost everything Phil Hartman or Arnold says at one point or another is something just seared into my brain.
Oh, yeah. No, that was over on the Thompson Experiment. We did Running Man, and I brought up how the 80s Running Man was designed to be a one-liner machine for Schwarzenegger. This is a one-liner machine for everybody. Every character is just zingers the whole way through.
Yeah. And obviously not every part of it works. Some things are a little bit more wild and zany than others. There's some cartoon logic here or there. But I don't know. I think it does some key things right. I think its third act does feel bigger than everything else in the movie. They built to their big finish. I think like the theme music they made for Turbo Man is surprisingly quite good and like kind of does work in the context of the movie. Because they sort of bring it up obviously at the start when he's watching the show, but also you hear it in the parade near the end as well. So, like, you know, I think that some effort went into all that stuff. It is very colourful as a movie as well. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, yeah, some cartoony logic and, you know, just maybe a couple of jokes here or there not landing is kind of really the only thing that I don't like about it. It's obviously, yes, it's a movie about a dad going through a bunch of hijinks trying to get a hard-to-find toy on Christmas Eve. And it was never going to be, like, It's a Wonderful Life with that premise, right? This is absolutely what but it's a time capsule of, like, the mid-90s in so many ways. This fits in. Even the fact that the kid, Jamie, does karate, right? That was such a thing when I was a kid, was kids doing karate and kung fu classes. Right? I don't remember anyone ever having like an audience come to see them get the next belt, but it was absolutely a thing kids were doing in the 90s.
I absolutely was a karate kid. I did the belt ceremonies and all that. And I just remember sitting, because it wasn't like everyone did it all at once and like they just got up to the next belt like super quickly. They did it in like tiers of like, you know, the top people go last and then like the white belts go first or whatever. So I just remember as I was hitting like the middle tiers, I was sitting there for so long and just like, this is so boring. I don't want to wait here for other people.
Yeah, no, we never had audiences. Maybe that's just another typical American thing where you have audiences for high school sports. You also have audiences for karate class graduations.
I mean, yeah. All I remember is that whenever it was those things, the studio or whatever you want to call it, the dojo I went to was absolutely not built to handle any amount of crowd, and it was the worst thing. So one thing I do want to bring up though is you were saying like the colors and the feeling and all that. The first thing that caught my eye with the movie is they have all the big flashy titles, and the one said 1492 production, which obviously means produced by Chris Columbus, who obviously is very famously known for the Home Alone movies, first two at the very least.
Yeah, well, a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, those are two of the big ones. Especially Christmas related, those are the big ones.
Right, exactly. And that's the sort of thing that I feel like I did feel, you were saying it like encapsulated the 90s, and I did feel like that was coming through a little bit here. And I wonder if that was Christopher Columbus just tapping a little bit on it, just putting in a little bit of like, oh, you know, maybe do this, maybe do that, whatever. Because I look at the director, and the director sucks. Like, I look at his entire history, and the thing that gets me is, obviously last week we did A Christmas Story, and one of the things I directly mentioned was I watched A Christmas Story 2, and it was awful. And guess who directed that?
I mean, I think people kind of liked the Flintstones movie at the time, right?
I think they like them in the same way that you like this, where it's, we've got a nostalgia for the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and it's like, oh, well, you know, it's there.
Hold on a second. This is better than the Flintstones movie now. Come on, let's be serious. That's not.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I would probably agree with you, but that's, again, I have no nostalgia for the Flintstones.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a bit of Flintstones, you know, as a kid, here or there, but nothing, you know, too. Oh, he also did Problem Child 2 and Beethoven? Okay, look. You can crap all over everything he's done, like, post, like, 2000, all you want. But there's actually a string of reasonably well-known kids' movies or family movies up until this one.
I know Beethoven. I know Beethoven has its audience. I'm not familiar, and I've never heard of Problem Child 2. What in the hell is that?
I've seen the whole trilogy. All
right. Fair enough.
Although the third one had different actors and stuff, so it felt a little bit tacked on. But 1 and 2 is the same. It's just, what's his name? John Ritter was the dad in those first two movies. Yep. So yeah, so he's got a few things there, and I mean, I never heard that they were very good, but I've heard of Snow Dogs and Are We There Yet? They did come out in theaters at the very least.
Look. It's a talking dog movie, I believe, unless that's the Cuba Gooding Jr. one. Is that the?
I don't know.
Yep, it's a Cuba. So that one I remember coming out was that it was marketed as a talking dog movie, and it wasn't actually. So all the kids were even disappointed with that because it was just Cuba Gooding Jr. with a bunch of dogs.
Look, It's not unlike Arnold to have a good movie with a director who's made almost nothing else that was worth watching, because Commando kind of falls into that. Although Showdown in Little Tokyo was a blast, but that was like a gem we found.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think out of all of this, the one-liners are what really sells it, like really makes this fun to sit through. But if we're talking about like actual craft, I think the actors are absolutely nailing this. I mean, like, top to bottom.
I'm giving you shit here, but this is not a director's movie. Like he's slotted in. He gets some simple coverage. Although there is a couple of little stylish. There's a couple of those dolly focus shots that they do in this. You know the famous thing. The most famous one's the Jaws one, where goes out of Roy Scheider's face and like the background depth of field changes. They do that here for a moment with Arnold, which and it's obviously a much funnier moment, but. So there's little bits like that, but it's not a director's movie. This is a star vehicle. It's a bunch of people who are charismatic, who are talented for the most part. Sinbad's maybe a little debatable, but even he has some good moments in this. So there's stuff to enjoy.
The one thing I'll give Sinbad, I don't know how many takes they had to do, but apparently they basically just let him ad-lib everything that he said in this movie. So. Well, at least that he at least had some good lines within ad-libbing. Yeah,
I mean, at least there's definitely parts where he just starts ranting about things, and I feel like those were probably different every take. He probably just was thinking on top of his head, like every single one of those.
Mm-hmm. Now, like, if it's one thing, if every single time they went with the first take, then I'd be impressed. But I have to assume there were at least like 3 or 4 takes where he was picking out the best one.
20. 25, however many takes it took to get the funny one.
I don't think Arnold would have the patience for that. It's just like, look, just say something and we'll get it through.
He nails all his lines though. He's like, put the cookie down. Everyone remembers put the cookie down. It's
absolutely
quality stuff.
And then honestly, like, I don't want to spoil too much for ratings rundown or anything like that, but Phil Hartman. Like,
yeah.
I didn't think in this movie anyone would be able to steal away full attention from Arnold, but damn, he does.
I'm not going to say he does, but he fights him for it. Like he does his crying damnedest, and he is. And for a long time, this is all I knew Phil Hartman from. I didn't really know him from anything else until I was in my mid to late 20s, because it was the 90s and he was already like dead by the time I would have been getting into the other things that he was involved in. And the other thing I knew him from, other than this, was maybe Small Soldiers, but I hadn't seen that. Like, I'd seen that as a kid, but it'd been so long since I'd seen it, I'd forgotten that he was in that. This was the one thing that I remembered him from from a kid. But so good energy. There's some funny hijinks, and I think if you like Christmas movies, particularly ones that are, obviously, there's the warm message by the end, but for the most part, it's the the toy for Christmas. It's the thing that's relatable to a lot of kids. And like I said, when I say it's very like time capsule of the 90s, like it really does feel that. It reminds me of sitting watching Power Rangers, wanting those toys, getting them for Christmas. It's all that kind of shtick. And to be fair, there is a few jokes in here that like are there for the adults. Basically all of Phil Hartman's plot is basically more aimed at the adults. And a lot of the lines that come out of that, for sure.
I do like how it's very much aimed for the adults, but for a kid watching it, you still have like the PG version of that plot. Like, you still understand what he's doing, but you don't quite get the very sexual overtones that it ends up being. And at the very least, he is making some really like over the top faces when he's pulling some stuff. So like, I think a kid would still at least appreciate that. And for us now, it's just kind of like, he's lapping up the screen. He's like eating the scenery in a good way here. Oh yeah.
And it's very good. He's very good at doing the kind of the pompous ass type kind of character. I don't even know if pompous is the right word to use, but you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, the schmarmy sort of. Yeah. The one thing that I do want to bring up, because I feel like people might comment on it, is that one of the major things we had in the previous movie, in Christmas Story, was we didn't quite get a feel for how disjointed it felt, how very much it felt like an anthology style story. I do think that this one does a much better job of, it's got this overarching through line. He's always after the same toy. It's very clear there. But I do think that a bunch of the sequences can basically be shuffled into any order. I think that it doesn't feel like there is a straight line in like how much zanier it gets throughout until you hit the end. I think that some of them are like really zany to start with and then maybe go down and then go back up again later on.
I don't know if I completely agree with that. I feel like they escalate in severity with each one for the most part.
Okay.
I mean, but once we talk about it in spoilers, we could maybe talk that out. But I feel like the hijinks at the radio station is much bigger than, you know, just the chasing around stores kind of thing. From, you know, like there's definitely escalation to all those things.
But then I would say that the stuff when he goes back to his house is lower again. I think that that's a lot lower in hijinks, and then it goes back up again.
Oh yeah, but you can't count. That's not one of the hijinks scenes though. That's that's the end of Act 2, his lowest moment. That's a very pivotal plot point. That has to happen to that part of the movie. Like, I'm not saying there's no hijinks in it, but it's not like all the other sequences before that, right? Once you've set up the plot of the movie, yes, there's definitely these chapters of like, okay, this is this part of the movie where he's trying this to get a doll, now he's trying this to get a doll, now he's trying this to get a doll, right? The segment that happens once he sort of like went back home is not one of those segments. It's very much, no, this is always going to be here, and it's meant to be like things are calming down before the third act. It's very... Like, I guess what I'm saying here is the movie does have a structure, and it feels like... No, it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple structure, but it does have more of a through-line structure, I think, than A Christmas Story actually does.
I get what you're saying. I understand, and I agree with that it's more than Christmas Story, but I do still think that a lot of these scenes can be put in pretty much any order. I don't think it escalates as strongly or as noticeably as you're making it out to be.
Well, it's a family comedy. It's not supposed to escalate that much, but I'm saying it does escalate. There's thoughts put into what the order is. So are we ready for spoilers?
Moving on. Yes.
Ready for spoilers? All right, okay. Let's do it. Spoilers for Jingle All the Way, everyone. You have been warned. All right, where to begin? He's a workaholic dad.
Yep.
He keeps saying he's going to make his son's karate graduation class, but everyone knows he's not going to. His assistant knows he's not going to. He's too busy selling stuff on December 23rd. It's the day before Christmas Eve. But I don't even know that at the time, but it's obvious on the next day that that's what it was.
Yeah. I do question, like, if everyone knows that this is the case, and, like, yes, he's a workaholic and everything like that, like, surely at some point here, the secretary, if she was any good, would be like, leave, go home now, stop doing what you're doing. But she's just like, they hold up the sign and all that and say like, well, I told you to leave an hour ago, told you to leave then, but she's just like, don't worry about it, I'm fine. And I'm just like, nah, she's kind of implicit at this point if she's letting this continue.
That's a weird complaint.
No, I'm not saying it's a complaint. I'm just saying, like,
I don't know, but she's like, she's going above and beyond the college here of holding up these signs. You expect her to put her foot down and say, get out of this office right now?
Absolutely.
Do you think she has a good enough relationship with her boss to do that?
Oh, well, that's clear. I don't know, but I'm viewing her through again, I had Liar on the brain for some reason. Like, I haven't watched that movie in at least like 2 years, but it just fits the exact same secretary role of that movie, and she had the cojones to stand up to Jim Carrey, so... It's
not Liar though. But this,
I know.
Not only that,
I know.
This came first.
I know. I understand.
Also, the movie starts with the Turbo Man TV show, right? We get like snippets of that and what a typical plot is. We get to see what he looks like, what his various powers, or well, not even powers, but his gadgets, his you know, his suit can do various things.
I do kind of wish that, you know how like in some movies they would like whenever they film like a news segment, it doesn't look like TV news because they just film it with like actual film cameras and all that stuff. I kind of wish they would have gone the extra mile during this segment and made it look like the cheap early 90s Power Rangers, like, and it's just like horrible special effects instead of like all the actual super capable theatrical shots and stuff like that.
I mean, I think they did with the outfits and like the vibe, but yeah, they didn't. Yeah, well, actually, even the sets, I think it feels like they intentionally made it feel cheap, like the sort of stuff that would be on a kids' TV show, but it's filmed better than a kids' TV show would be. I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. Like, I just wish they would have filmed it in that really crappy, like borderline tape instead of film.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of those shows were filmed on film, so that wouldn't even stick out too much. But maybe even something as simple as making them 4:3 for those shots would have maybe went a long way, just to make it feel more like TV. But regardless, they hypes you up. You see the kid getting all excited. He's watching. He's all about it. So the whole thing is that Arnold is taking ages to get going. Eventually, his wife calls him. Liz calls him and tries to remind him to make sure he's going to be there and not to disappoint the son. And Arnold, when he's hanging up the phone, after he promises he'll be there, says, "You're my number one customer," because he's been saying that to everyone else he's been on the phone to, because he sells fabrics or something. That's the one word I heard.
I think it's mattresses. I vaguely remember hearing that.
Yeah, but at one point he offered to redo the fabric.
Yeah. So
something with fabric, whatever it may be.
Whatever it is. We spoke about this last week after we wrapped up the previous one I absolutely have done that. Like working in customer service, I have had conversations with loved ones where I wrap up with, "All right, is there anything else I could do for you?" Like it boils into your brain. I have no antagonistic feelings for Arnold for having done this.
No, I mean, this is innocent enough. The fact that he's not left yet is a bit more.
Absolutely.
You're being a bit shitty in that way, but I mean that's the thing. Obviously, again, it's not a super serious movie, so it's shitty, but it's shitty in a kind of light, like, oh, he needs to learn to be a better dad kind of thing. It's never. We're not doing a drama here. Like, it's all very hijinksy, and it's all fine. Like, the most you get out of it in terms of feeling sad is when he arrives at the building finally, but everyone's already left, and the sad music plays a little bit, and it's like, okay, there you go. That's your kind of the lowest you'll ever feel, really, in this movie. Yeah. There's not much more depth to it than that as far as emotional stakes go.
Yeah, and during the karate thing, we also get introduced to Ted, which is
Phil Hartman's character, who is the neighbor of Arnold and Liz.
And there's all these other, I'm going to assume single moms, but I have nothing to back that up, who are all approaching him and are going like, "Hey, would you mind coming over to hang out my Christmas lights?" Yeah.
Oh, there's something wrong with my plumbing. Could you come over and fix it? You've got the. Yeah, and he, at one point he even says, "I've got just the right tool for the job." But he seems very disinterested in them, and the entire scene kind of focuses on Lizzie's reaction, who's clearly a little disgusted by all these women throwing themselves at this man. And then he turns and just kind of gives her a little shrug. And effectively his character's whole thing is that he's got the hots for Liz, he wants to steal her. The one mum that's in his vicinity that he can't have, seemingly. Yep. Is the one that he wants, and he's ignoring it, even though every other mom's throwing themselves at him. That's the one he wants. So that's what this movie's going to be, is him throwing himself at her in sleazy little ways.
The way I read the character was he was still going for all the other moms. He just kind of wanted to complete the set here. He's like, that's the one I can't have. I'm going to get her.
Well, we find out much later that he is divorced, right? Which makes sense because he's single, but there's a specific line from his son where Jamie, Arnold's son, says, "Hey, I wish my dad would do cool Christmas things like this." And then Ted's son says, "Oh, my dad never used to do things like this, but after he got divorced, all of a sudden he started putting in all this effort. Maybe your parents should get a divorce. Worked out wonders for me."
I love the good intentions on that kid, but damn, what a savage statement.
It's what's so good about it is that it's actually got an odd little bit of depth to it. And I don't even think it's an intentional depth. I'm not saying it's something smart the writers have put in. I just think it's actually kind of deep and like, oh, he puts all this effort into having a reindeer and Christmas decorations and making all this Christmas stuff because he's terrified that his son will just drift away from him, and he's trying to, be the cool dad because he only gets, X number of days a week or a month to do this kind of thing. I don't know. There's an element of like effort, or maybe he's trying to lure in the women. Either way, it feels like he's turned it up for like non-selfish reasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's kind of like a desperation quality to like him putting this effort in.
No, that's absolutely what I was picking up. He feels like such a selfish character top to bottom. And I think not to get too deep into it, but the ending scene where we see after everything is played out, how he like reacts with his son, I feel like tells us everything, where like when things don't go his way, he gets very petty and very like, rag'em frag'em sort of stuff.
Yeah, so Arnold on the way to the karate thing gets stopped by a cop, and this is important because this cop's going to be a recurring character throughout the night. Now, Arnold tries to beat the traffic by driving on the shoulder or whatever, and of course the traffic cop's like, don't know about that, buddy. And then Arnold, like an idiot, has to say, could we make this quick? I'm late for my son's karate thing, which did not please the police officer. It may have been
We're all late for our son's karate things. It's the 90s.
So obviously when he gets home, well, first of all, he gets frustrated because Ted's on his roof hooking up Christmas lights, and Ted's like, well, since you didn't put up your Christmas lights yet, I thought I would spread some holiday cheer around the neighborhood. And you can just tell Arnold like seething on the inside because it's like a critique that he's not done it yet. And to be fair, it's December 23rd. I mean, he's leaving it kind of late if he's not done it yet.
Yeah. I do like how, at least in this earlier scene, like starting this off here before we get really deep into, of course, he's just trying to bang the wife. But I like how at this point he is still technically just a really good neighbor who just oversteps his boundaries. Like he's just saying like, oh yeah, I filmed the kids karate thing for you. I'm putting up the lights. Like I'm only doing nice things here. And then it slowly reveals of, oh no, he's a prick.
Yeah, well, there is one little hint though, because he says, oh, since you couldn't make it to the karate thing, I filmed it all. You can watch it later. Like he has to throw in the little dig part of it, like, oh, because you're a failure, because you're a bad father. Unlike me, I'm perfect. So yeah, it does that, and obviously there's a whole bit here where he has to go and cheer up Jamie and like promise to get him something for Christmas because he's mad at him, which honestly I was too distracted in this scene because of the giant Captain America on the wall in the background.
Yeah, what about it?
It's just wild to me because like I didn't start reading comics until I was like, in my late teens, so I'm actually like, it's kind of wild to me that any kids knew who Captain America was in like 1996. Like I don't know. It's
Pete, I strangely enough, for just no reason today, I spent a lot of my downtime reading about like Golden Age comic books, and let me tell you, kids in 1940 knew who Captain America were. It's been around for a while.
Yes, but I think you're conflating things here. Saying I buy that Captain America and other superheroes were known just from comic books in the 1940s. I do not think that means or has any correlation as to why a kid in the 1990s knows what those characters are without movies and TV shows and cartoons to put them in their viewpoint, you know?
I mean, we do see that he's reading a Turbo Man comic,
yes.
So he's at least somewhat into comics in general to some extent.
Yes, he also has X-Men bed sheets, I think it was, and he had like a Hulk mask on the wall. Basically, Marvel paid for a bunch of product placement is what I'm getting from this.
Probably, yeah.
That said, the parade at the end does have a Ninja Turtle, does have a Cat in the Hat, a Crayola
it was such
thing.
A weird collection.
On Sonic.
It's like, here's all this public domain stuff, and then like Cat in the Hat and Sonic, and I'm like, all right, what?
Yeah, and Turtles. Turtles is not public domain.
Oh yeah, Turtles.
So yeah, I don't know, but hey, whatever. But yeah, so he he tries to make it up to Jamie. He's like, hell, I want the Turbo Man doll, and he basically recites the commercial. He's like, oh, I want the fast action talking and the 5 live action phrases and blah blah blah. And he just like he says it all to the point where he says shipping and handling at the end. Yeah.
Shipping and handling included, batteries not included.
Yeah, and Arnold's like, yes, okay, I'll promise, I'll get you. Yes, whatever you want, my son of mine. And then, of course, cut to the wife being like, you got that Turbo Man doll weeks ago, right? Because it's, it'll be impossible to find. And he's like, of course I did. And then, obviously, the look of horror on his face as he looks up at the camera in the bed. Just good comic timing on Arnold. Like, and obviously it's like, oh, he's lying about something that he's supposed to have done, but he already feels like he's in trouble for not making the karate thing. So it's like not a sunk cost thing. That's not quite the right phrase, but he thinks he's in too deep. It's like, no, this will just get me into way too much trouble. I have to try and save this slyly as best I can.
And of course, he's completely removed. Like, he doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. So he doesn't know what he just committed to here of how hard it is to find this doll. No. So, I mean, I think it's a good, like, call to action to get us into, like,
well, we're not quite in Act 2 yet, but it's kind of a good call to action for what the goal of the plot is, like what his MacGuffin is.
I mean, it also, like you said, pacing wise, this is an hour and a half long movie, so we don't have a lot of time to work with in general. But all of this is before the 15-minute mark. Like, it briskly just says, here's the issue, here's what we're going to do, and he's out the door.
Yep. He says goodbye in the morning, basically just whispers and says, oh, I left the present of the office. I'm going to go get it. That's his excuse for leaving. And he carts off. Although not before a little interaction with his favourite neighbour, Ted, who's got a reindeer. And of course, he's like, well, so what are you going to do with the reindeer after Christmas then? That doesn't seem like a good thing. And he's like, oh, I've been watching a herd of deer down by the so-and-so river. I'm going to release them into the wild, and nature will be kind and take them as one of their own. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to punch you now. I want to punch you already.
Look, even if he's being earnest, even if he actually, like, this is the borderline of like introducing an invasive species into an area. Like, yeah, you saw some deer. That doesn't mean a reindeer can survive there.
All right, so do you know what it makes me think of, bizarrely, a little bit? It makes me think of American Psycho. It makes me think of how Patrick Bateman in that movie is like such the ultra yuppie, everything. He's got to do his face mask routine, he's got to have the right business card, go to the right restaurant, and it feels like him saying he's monitoring and, like, you know, looking after a herd of deer somewhere, just feels like, oh, I do this because I can say I do charity. Like, you know, this is like a class social card that I can play, and that's why he does it.
Ted would absolutely be the one who says, like, oh, of course I donate half my paycheck to charity every month. I mean, that's clearly the best thing to do, whatever. Meanwhile, like, every time he's doing it, he's like, son of a bitch, I hate that friggin'.
He's trying to get into Dorcia? Is that the restaurant in American Psycho he keeps trying to get into? So, yeah. There's a whole thing here, and he waves him a bye, off he goes, and we're into kind of the main bit of the movie, which is...
we also, as he's leaving, they introduced the deadline of he has to be done and make it back in time for the Christmas parade.
Yes.
Which is theoretically only in like 6 hours. Like, it's super soon afterwards. It's amazing how condensed this movie is.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of wiggle room here, but it's still very clearly the afternoon, you know, at the end of the movie. So I mean, what time is it when he's leaving here? Like, I mean, well, actually we kind of know because the store's opening because the whole thing where he's like, it's 2 minutes before opening time. So he gets to the store just before 9 a.m. presumably. So I guess he's leaving the house like 8:30 or maybe a little bit earlier.
I would say that the parade can't possibly be after 4 p.m.
Yeah,
that would be just far too late. And
that feels like it's being generous to the movie when I feel like normally it'd probably be about noon. but yeah, we'll give them the leeway, whatever. So yeah, he's got a very eventful day, does Arnold. Because when they finally run into the store, well, actually I was supposed to skip over because Sinbad's introduction comes out here, doesn't it? Where the whole going postal thing was such a thing in the 90s that we have a postman who basically talks about getting frustrated at how busy he is at Christmas to where he grabs a random woman and starts strangling her, and then realizes he's strangling the woman, and then just sort of tries to play it off as like, oh, that's that wild, you shouldn't wear fur, ma'am, and just sort of pushes her away.
You know how there's the joke of like in prisons of don't drop the soap?
Yes.
And like, that's just entered common parlance. That's just the thing of like, oh, don't drop the soap. Ha ha ha. Funny joke. But then like, pause, stop. Think about what is actually being implied when you say, don't drop the soap. This is the same as what these postal jokes are for me. Like the fact that they entered common parlance and it's like, ho ho ho, postal workers go crazy. Like, do we all know what we're talking about here? Are we all clear on that?
Well, the movie's going to make it clear later because they're going to threaten him actually wanting to, you know, blow up people. So that's, you know, that's all on the same line of lines.
Actually, crazy. Like, this is the one thing that, like, you know, the Hartman storyline, the kids may not pick up on the sexuality of it. I assume the kids would not pick up on the overt terroristic threats here, but still.
I mean, he just works because he's like a goofy, over the top character more than anything else, right? But yeah, so he's introduced here, and they run into the store. There's like a stampede, right? The poor store employees like kind of sitting there, just with
he deserves it.
in his face.
He had the nerve to tap his watch beforehand. He deserves whatever's coming to him.
But of course, they get to the shelves where the Turbo Man's supposed to be, and it's all sold out. And I will, you know what? I'll appreciate the set design here, or the prop department, or whoever it is. Like the idea that they had not only toys of Booster, but also the villain from the show in the background, and people were holding them, I thought was a really nice touch. It was like, okay, there's tons of the other characters, and even though they don't bring them all up, they're still there in the background. I kind of appreciate that.
I just, as a recurring thing, moving on here, I love the little bit where everyone hates Booster. Everyone, like, nobody cares for Booster at all. It's just hidden in the background of characters talking about the show right up until it reaches its high point during the parade. But I love that detail. Yeah. I feel like, the villain wouldn't sell as well as Turbo Man, but I feel like a lot of villains would still be sold because the kids will want to have a bad guy for their action figure to fight. That makes sense. But like, that's the thing, is it would have to sell to 1-to-1 with Turbo Man, because no one would want the villain without Turbo Man, and then people would want Turbo Man just on his own. So no matter what, you're going to have more villains left than Turbo Man dolls. That's fair.
Well, they should have stocked more Turbo Mans, because they should have predicted that eventuality.
No, man, it's the artificial scarcity. That's what makes it a hot ticket item.
Oh, yeah. So I think one of the things in this movie that are seared into my brain is the way the employees laugh at Arnold when he asks if there's any Turbo Mans in the back, and they just start cackling like madman. Like he's just asked the silliest question he could have possibly uttered.
It's the first employee who's got that raspy laugh. He then turns to the second one, who just belts out, who then turns to a random customer, who then alerts the rest of the store, and everyone just points and laughs at Sinbad and Arnold.
Yeah, and then Arnold kind of like threatens them and grabs them and says, "Where's your Christmas spirit?" And they sort of calm down. Do you know what I like about this? I like that the movie doesn't ignore the fact that Arnold is built pretty well. Like, it's not a key part of his character, but there is at least a line later on where Phil Hartman says, "Oh, you can't bench press your way out of this one." So it's like, okay, they're acknowledging it clearly works out. He does that kind of thing. He's not an action star in this one in the same way that he is in others, but he clearly is still Arnold. Like, just kind of accept that. It's fine.
Yeah.
The only problem I have actually with them dealing with Arnold, his general, like, being Arnold, is, there's a certain point later in this movie where, his own family don't recognize his voice, and I'm like, how much of this accent's going around, in the Midwest? Exactly.
When they're setting up that bit, they specifically say, "Oh, the microphone will alter your tonality so you sound like the character," and I'm like, how much work is this really going to do? And then he speaks, and I'm like, it's not doing shit.
Yeah, I guess you have to read it like, how sometimes, like, in a movie they'll be speaking a foreign language, but it'll switch to English for us. Maybe we have to assume, oh, they're hearing Turbo Man's voice, we're hearing Arnold because we want to hear Arnold, but they're hearing Turbo Man the character.
Yeah, we don't get the diegetic sound, we just hear what's we're supposed to hear.
Makes sense. Why wouldn't you do it that way? So the start of the craziness really begins, though, when one of the store guys basically says, "Well, we did have one on layaway that just got picked up," and immediately this is when it's like, "Oh, we have to chase this woman down." And obviously, I'm assuming, like, maybe Sinbad will, because he's really crazy, but I'm assuming Arnold isn't going to steal it. He's probably his intentions are to convince her to sell it to him at a double value, triple value, whatever it is. Try and basically plead his way out of it. So they go running, but Sinbad hits him with his bag, and we get kind of this zany bit where Arnold, like, grabs a remote control car control and runs it into him to make him trip, which is very Home Alone, actually. It's a very Home Alone style bit of slapstick, I would say this is. And then Arnold runs off and tries to reach the woman in the car, but she drives off and she's already gone.
Look, if a strange man is chasing you down the street, fine, fair enough. But from the way it was framing him, he did look like he was, like, trying to flag her down, even for, like, helping her or something like that. It wasn't like he was, like, holding a pitchfork or something while chasing her.
Look, an Arnold comes running at you, yelling, I guess you freak out a little bit. I don't know.
She got done watching Commando, and she's like, "Oh, I know what happens if I stick around for this."
Yeah, I did like the callback, though. That's the woman in the fur coat. That was a nice little kind of through line to the previous bit, 'cause this was the same woman that Sinbad grabbed out the front of the store. So karma, at least for Sinbad anyway. I guess it's not really karma for Arnold. He didn't do anything.
I was going to say, I feel like the scene only really works if Sinbad's the one chasing down, and she's like, "Oh God, he's going to throttle me again."
No, well, I don't think it was for that. I think it was more just this idea that when the employee's describing who got the Turbo Man, and he says fur coat, they both have this moment of recognition of like, I know who that is. So I think it's meant to be like a kind of like, okay, we know who we're gunning for, like right now kind of thing. So obviously it doesn't work. We get like a montage of Arnold looking at different stores. They're all sold out. We get some people laughing at him, yada, yada, yada. And then I think he runs into Sinbad again, because the reason why I think he runs into Sinbad again first is because I always laugh at how ridiculous it is that, like, apparently everyone in the city is looking for this damn toy, because when he's talking to Sinbad in the street in the follow-up scene, like a guy just runs past the camera and goes, the toy store at Mall of America got a late shipment of Turbo Man dolls, and gets in his car, and I'm like, it's not like you were standing with them and they're talking about the same thing. Like, you literally just yelled that to strangers on the street like, oh, this is like a national crisis, everyone's looking for this thing.
I agree, it's obviously just there for people to overhear. However, I believe that he was yelling it to the driver of the car that he was getting into, because he was getting in on the passenger side.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so there's a bit more of like, there's kind of like an ebb and flow to the Arnold and Sinbad relationship, where they're like, okay, Sinbad wants to be friends, but then immediately betrays Arnold. And then when he runs into him again, he's like, okay, I'm sorry about before, tensions were high, we're all stressful, it's Christmas. And then he acts like friends again. But as soon as they hear about another potential Turbo Man doll, immediate betrayal again from Sinbad.
It's as soon as there's any sort of like, if there's a downtime, if they don't have any leads, if they don't know where to go, it's like, we're just two dads trying to make it work for our kids, doing whatever we can. And then the moment there's any sort of hope, the tiniest glimmer, he will absolutely shoot Arnold if he has a gun.
Luckily for Arnold, he does not have a gun.
Yes. So the only other bit right before he meets Sinbad is this is where he tries calling home. He wants to get a hold of his wife.
Oh, of course. The cookie scene.
Yes. Ted is there, their kids are playing together, and he's like, hey, you look stressed. Why don't you go up, take a shower? I'll take care of baking the cookies down here. And he like insists upon it, and that's when Arnold calls him.
Whoa. Let's not gloss over how he takes off her apron.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Right?
This is, I think, the first inkling where you like absolutely know that he is a dick here.
Yeah.
Because he reaches around her, unties it from the front, and you just get this little
his head's over her shoulder, practically looking at the camera, and he's like, oh my god, her body feels so good, I love it so much. Like, that's the face he gives. And then of course, once she's out of the frame and the kids are like being noisy in the background, he burns his hand on a cookie, and then he goes like, pipe down in there, and he gets really angry and like staring, and it's like, oh, that's the real him sneaking through. Like, this facade is shimmering away. But yeah, when Arnold calls and Ted's the one that answers, and it's like, hey, this is the whatever Howard's last name is, residence. Yeah. He's like, Ted, what are you doing there? What's going on? He's like, just over with the boys, and these cookies are so good. Like,
and he does it so like over the top, like sexually, like these cookies.
And then Arnold's like, where's Liz? And he's like, I think she's in the shower. Want me to go check? He's like, no. And then of course he makes some more grunting noises, which is why he says put the cookie down, or sorry, put the cookie down now. Does that, right?
Perfect.
It's a funny scene. Hartman's funny in the scene. Arnold's reaction to him are funny. And this is very much the running trend of this subplot as it goes on. Like later on when Arnold calls and Jamie's the one that answers, and because the reindeer like was named Ted as well, he's like, where's your mom? And he's like, oh, she's next door petting Ted. And he's like, what?
I love we don't clarify. Like, he just moves on with the conversation.
I'm just going to assume my son's confused, because that can't be right. That can't be right.
I mean, look, we're going to have a divorce by New Year's no matter how this goes, so whatever.
Yeah. Actually, which reminds me, before I move forward, were you aware of the post-credit sequence?
I was.
Okay. I say that because I legitimately did not know about that until I was in my 20s. It was just once I let the credits play at some point in my adult life, and it got to the end, and I was like, there's a scene at the end of Jingle All the Way? Holy shit, how did I not know about this all this time?
Anytime that I have like the ability to look at the track bar, once the credits hit, I always just do a quick scan. Like I never hold anything of like, oh, this was pre-Marvel, so therefore it doesn't have anything. I don't trust it.
It was more rare at this time period, though. This is actually kind of a novelty that it has it, to be honest. But yeah, so they hear about this, they go to the Mall of America, which I guess means this is in Minnesota, I want to say.
Yeah, during the parade, they show that it's a Twin Cities parade. So Twin Cities is Minnesota.
Yeah, and the Twin Cities are Minneapolis and...
Yep.
Come on, David, you're American. You should know this.
I don't live anywhere near that. All right, Twin Cities are Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Same. I would never have guessed that. And I don't even think I've heard of St. Paul, but fair enough.
I think I have some family there, which makes it worse.
Does it help that I could tell you the DC Comics Twin Cities, if that's any better?
I feel like I know. It's Keystone's one of them, right?
Yes.
Keystone and... I know it's the Flash cities, but I can't remember the other one.
Yeah, Central City.
Central, wow, yeah.
Central and Keystone.
Such an easy word, yeah.
Anyway, so they go to the Mall of America, and I think what gets me about this, because the whole thing is the store manager has got one of those toy microphones that he's using to like announce to like the crowd of angry parents who want this Turbo Man doll, and he's like, hey, we've got a shipment of Turbo Mans in, and we only have so many of them, so here's a couple things that are going to happen. We're going to do a lottery system to see who gets the chance to buy one. We're going to use these balls. And I think the things that got me here is that the employees that are holding the buckets of balls start like cackling, like, haha, these sad losers, haha, we're evil store, we work at this evil toy store, we love this job. And I'm like, yeah, why do you care? Cackling. You're just employees here. If anything, I feel like anyone who works a job like this would be miserable having to deal with this many angry customers who are trying to get something on a busy day.
Well, that's why I think that this story is supposed to relate back to the parents. I feel like that's the top layer here, where it's like, yeah, you're just looking for that one thing, and it feels like everyone, all the employees, are just like purposely out to get you. But they specifically start cackling not after the lottery bit, but after the guy announces like, oh, and by the way, 300% markup.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
We're charging out the ass for this because we know you'll pay it.
Yes, we can. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not complaining though. I love that they start laughing like they're evil henchmen. Like, I love the idea that this toy store manager and his employees are his henchmen. Like, I think that's hilarious. So I'm all for it. Yeah. Also, one of my favorite lines in the movie is once, because basically the crowd rush him and the bucket of balls go in the air. So I think they want a yellow ball. I think
I mean, he's following a yellow ball around the thing, but they're all numbered, so it's not like he's knows that that's a winner. It's just his chance to get it.
Sure. So they're all diving for the balls. We get this, it's the most wonderful time of the year playing as they're all jumping up in slow motion trying to get the balls. One of my favorite lines in this whole movie is when Sinbad steals like his ball that he grabs, and then he's like, ha 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 ha, and he's like holding it. Arnold just starts yelling while he's on the floor, he got two, and it just makes the crowd rush him. Yeah. I love it. I don't know why I love it, but I love it.
No, I mean, it's so there's so many moments in this where like Schwarzenegger, or I guess the character, just gives in to the madness of it, and he like plays the part. Like, he goes on later on when we get to the mall Santa bit, like, to get out of that, he's like, I have to just play the part here. And I love those moments because it is just the moment where it feels like the straight man is breaking, where he's the one that's supposed to be the guy who's just trying to do his best here, but when he finally is pushed too far, he gives it that extra oomph that makes it hilarious. Yeah, and obviously the ball goes flying through the mall, and he has to go chasing after it, which goes down some stairs into the sort of play area, with a chute and the ball pit and all that. And it ends up with him confronting a child who has now got the ball, and honestly, this is actually a really dark joke for a family Christmas movie. But basically, when he goes to get the ball and he grabs the kid because they won't give the ball up, the mum sees him and starts hitting him and calling him a pervert. And I'm like, I don't know what I thought when I was a kid watching this scene, but it's really weird seeing it now as an adult. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. This kid, like, he's taunting Arnold with the ball the whole time because they're crawling through, like, play place tubes and stuff like that. He's taunting him with it. This kid must be the child of that kid from A Christmas Story who was standing in line with Ralphie and had that grin. He looks identical. Actually, no, she says it's a little girl. So it's a girl.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was specifically not picking a gender because I honestly was not sure based on the appearance of the child.
Very androgynous, but then he's like, "Hey, little girl, I have a red ball. You want that?"
I'm not a pervert.
But then, I mean, I think that once he fails to get the ball, that's where it kind of goes into a lull for a moment where he doesn't know what to do next. No, sorry, it's Mall Santa.
Yeah, he runs into the Mall Santa like immediately. So as he's walking away, where everyone's favorite Belushi starts being like, "Hey, you want a Turbo Man doll? I can get you a Turbo Man doll. Here's a ransom photograph we took of the doll with today's newspaper to prove that we've got it. You gonna pay for it, buddy?"
I love that he calls him out. He's just like, this seems like a scam. Like, this isn't going to be a thing. And he's like, all right, fine, you're lost. But he's so desperate by this point. He's like, oh, I mean, we could check it out.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of meaning by escalations, because I think you've got just the initial finding out, the montage of the toy stores, and then this ball system and the craziness to try and get to the ball. And then you get to the Mall Santa, and then we're like, okay, we're going off on like a weird side adventure now into like, this corrupt like black market of like Santas who sell knockoff goods.
Yeah, it's such a, obviously it's very like high concept. It's very much just weird for the sake of being weird, but like it's absolutely supposed to be like a back alley drug den sort of thing. But everyone's dressed as Santa or elves, and then like the front desk, like the women working there, all are dressed as Mrs. Claus on top of it. So it's like everyone's in full character here, and it's funny. I like it, but it's so weirdly high concept of we're just accepting this without commenting. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Why question it? I don't. It's just like clearly nothing in this movie is supposed to represent reality. That's like, come on, we get the infinite jetpack at the end. That's not like, split hairs here over the criminals who are all dressed as Santa, which makes me wonder, like, did they just normal people for like 11 months of the year, but then December it's time to like get their criminal enterprise going again?
I mean, I'd have to assume in springtime it's an Easter Bunny operation instead, but outside of that, I got nothing else.
I mean, could they do anything for Halloween? I guess they could sell lots of candy. Halloween.
Yeah. It's just, what would they dress up as? There's not like one icon of Halloween.
Well, that's the beauty of Halloween. They all get to pick something different. It's like, whatever you want, it's Halloween. Go wild. Yeah. Why not?
No, I mean, it's fair. I think what gets me, and I think, looking at the movie as a whole, I may reevaluate my escalation comment I made before, but the reason I said it was because this is only like half an hour in, and it already feels so high. It feels so outrageously high in terms of escalation, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, there is only like 3 or 4 more hijinks things left, and they do keep escalating from there.
Yeah, obviously there's like, there's cooling off periods in between some of them, right? Which is good for pacing, because it would be too much if they were just back to back to back to back. Right. So yeah, I mean, this is absolutely crazier than chasing the ball into the ball pit and that stuff. Yeah. This is going to a different whole thing, and it's something different as well, which is like this idea that he's getting ripped off. They make him pay $300 for this toy, and then he immediately opens it. It's speaking in Spanish, and then he opens the box, and it just falls out into pieces, and they're like, oh, there's some assembly required, and he wants his money back. And what's funny is that no one cares about this conflict in this room until he has the audacity to say that you're all a bunch of slime balls dressed as Santa, con men, and that's when everyone turns and looks like, what did you call us, con men? What's this now? So yeah, and to be fair, he holds his own in this silly fight scene for quite some time. It's not until Paul White dressed as Santa comes out, and he's 7-foot form, where suddenly he's actually a little bit concerned that maybe he's fighting someone a bit too big. But hey, do you like the idea of him ducking and the little person that's on his shoulder getting hit instead and going flying all the way across the room? Does that tickle your fancy, David?
Like is a strong word. I got a mild chuckle out of it, but again, it's so outrageously cartoonish that I'm just like, all right, yeah.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, like I actually think this like black market Santa ring part is probably my least favorite section of the movie. It's probably the part where I'm not as into the type of comedy or like the general, like, because everything else is fun because it involves his foil, which is Sinbad, right? The stuff before and after it, or it involves him and Phil Hartman, or all the crazy stuff at the end. It's a lot of fun. This is the one where I'm like, I like the gimmick of this, but I think the actual fight and the actual kind of comedy of like the reveal that it's all a con, because we all know it's a con. We know it's not going to be. Yeah. It's too early in the movie for this to be the payoff. So, you know, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Him pretending to be a cop when the police show up to get out of it without being arrested is a little bit amusing. Like, I'm not mad at that for sure.
I like that.
Yeah. So I guess the thing here is that obviously he ran into that cop again because he knocked over his bike when he was trying to race off to the toy store before. And it's this running gag that he keeps getting into trouble with this same cop. I was a little surprised that cop doesn't show up here in this scene, and he, like, you know, maybe wouldn't see him because that would like ruin the whole, you know, pretending to be a detective to get out of this. But maybe Arnold would see him in the distance and like, oh, I need to turn around and go the other direction, like a little close call or something.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I could see that working.
Yeah, but
maybe it was there, maybe it was cut for time or whatever, but it definitely seems like that would have made sense.
Yeah, so he drives back, his car runs out of gas on the bridge, so he has to push it to like civilization where there's a diner, and he goes in, and would you believe it, Sinbad's in the diner, and he's like, hey, peace offering, here's a little bit of booze for your coffee, and they sit and reminisce and talk about how they're terrible dads. And actually, this comes right after Arnold's phoned home. This is after he's phoned Jamie, and he feels bad about it.
This is after Mom's petting Ted.
With the pet and Ted line, yes. Because Jamie basically says, hey, you have to come to the parade. You missed it the last 2 years. like, you know, you need to keep your
Turbo
promises.
Man's going to be there.
Yeah, and Turbo Man says, if you want to keep your friends, you must keep your promises. And Arnold's like, I've had it up to here with this Turbo Man nonsense. I don't want any advice from Turbo Man. I love that there's like, Arnold's got two, well, he's got three technically, including Sinbad, but he's got two kind of like rivals in this movie that make him feel like, you know, like basically emasculate him. And one is Turbo Man, and one is the neighbor. One is Ted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, one is there to stop him from getting the doll, like there is just causing problems on that front, but then the other one is what happens if you fail, like even if you manage to upset your rival or whatever and you get the doll or whatever, there's still the chance that the Ted thing might have already transpired. So you need to be moving quickly here, and it's kind of a ticking clock thing without it actually having to keep a timer on anything. You just have this urgency constantly there.
Yeah, it feels like some momentum. But anyway, they sort of talk, and Sinbad opens up and says, oh, there was this one toy he wanted when he was a kid and he never got it, but his neighbor did, and his neighbor became a billionaire, so, you know, it sucks to be me. And Arnold imagines his son sitting there in the postal uniform drinking booze and being like, oh no, I have to fulfill his dreams, or otherwise he'll turn out like this pathetic loser. Oh no.
Unfortunately, Jake Lloyd, for different reasons.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd's future didn't turn out so hot. And to be fair, you know, we can crack jokes about it. Like, I'm sure that poor man has been the victim of so much verbal abuse, if not more, from angry, like, loser Star Wars fans. Like, that movie absolutely sucks, but he does not deserve a lick of the blame, and even if it was his fault, it's still just a movie. Like, he doesn't deserve anything because of that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But he did not do well afterwards.
So yeah, and then Arnold talks about how he built this playhouse for his son a couple of years ago, and it was this, you know, he was the hero that day and he wants to be that hero again, kind of thing. Nice little touch, just while I remember it, is that later on when he sees like the drawing that Jamie did of him and the family, he sees it inside his playhouse. If you're paying attention, you can see that it's in like this little house outside. It's not in the actual building.
All right.
So
can't say I noticed that.
Just a nice little touch. But yes, Martin Mull, the principal from Sabrina. Actually, I think it was the vice principal now that I'm thinking about it. But yes. He comes on the radio as a DJ in this movie and says that they've got a Turbo Man doll to be won, and immediately like Arnold and Sinbad start fighting over getting to the phone to answer the trivia question, which is what are the 8 reindeer?
I look, maybe living in the age of the internet where I have the ability to look up anything at any time has soiled me for these sort of radio trivia questions. But like the fact that nobody in the entire Twin Cities area was able to call in and give a correct answer before he manages to run down 2 blocks and get into the building himself seems insane to me.
I mean, yeah, obviously it's not realistic, but again, I don't think it matters here.
No, I'm not saying it's not. Anytime I'm saying these things, it's not like a problem where I'm like, come on, writers, get it together. Like, no, it's just one of those things that as soon as I stop to think about, I'm like, this guy's calling in giving the Jackson 5 instead of the reindeer. All right.
That just better be funny, you know? Yeah, I honestly, like, I actually really like this segment. I mean, even before we get to the radio station, I love the bit where after they've wrecked the phone, which, by the way, the diner owner is very, like, cool about that, by the way. He just says, by the way, the radio station is like 2 blocks down. You could just go there. And
that was his attempt to get them out before they smashed a window.
So they go running. And the joke here is that Arnold's in better shape, first of all, so he's running faster. But Sinbad, in an effort to try and speed up, starts like jettisoning packages out of his mailbag as if that's slowing him down. You know, like you're on a plane and you're having to like lose weight to go faster.
I love how like he still concedes he has to carry the bag with him. Like it's not like he can just throw the bag away, but you know, half of the letters, whatever, they don't need those.
Yeah, I just love the idea that so many people in the city do not have like stuff they expected for Christmas because he has just went AWOL from his job. He's just not even trying.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So they go to the radio station, and obviously you can't just barge into a radio station to give the call-in answer to a thing. You need to call in. That's the goddamn point. So Arnold absolutely looks like a madman when he comes barging into like the radio booth and starts banging on the window, and then ultimately even kicks the window with the door in so he can get inside.
No, look, if there's a madman banging on your glass from the outside, I can understand. I can sympathize with dialing 911 at that point. But the moment that he busts down the door, you're completely justified. Like the fact that they play this at all of like, you called the cops. It's like, yeah, you bust down my door.
Like, I have the answer. I need a Turbo Man doll. And then Sinbad shows up and tries to pretend that one of his packages is a bomb to scare them into giving him the doll. And then that's when Martin Mull's like, wait, do you think I've got a doll here in the building? And like, that's what you said. It's like,
they specifically do the reveal that the package isn't a bomb.
Of course,
it's like a music box or whatever. But then that's when he's like, whoa. Who said anything about the doll being here?
Yeah, you know, we have a gift certificate for a doll, which notably Arnold does get away with. He has that in his pocket when he leaves, and I don't think he ever loses that.
True.
So Jamie may get one in February.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot of good it does at that point, but fair.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, Jamie's given up a doll by the end of the movie, so it's not like, you know, he's like, hey, you get one late. You did the good deed. You did the nice thing, Jamie, and now you still get a doll in a couple of months. Congratulations.
Yeah, as soon as your father gets out of prison for all the crimes he committed.
No. See, it's cool because it turns out the cop's a big Turbo Man fan and like gives him a salute at the end. It's fine. So the whole thing though is the police show up, they come swarming in, and Sinbad tries to pull the same trick where he pulls out another package and says it's a bomb and makes them all lower their weapons onto the ground. And Arnold skedaddles during this as well, and Sinbad leaves, and that's when our main cop, the one that's been kind of like, you know, running into Arnold all throughout the movie, says, don't worry boys, I was in the bomb squad for 10 years, and he picks up the package and he's sort of shaking it, he's like listening to it and whatnot, and he's like, this is just a regular old Christmas package. And we cut to a shot outside of Arnold as the explosion is heard in the background. And arguably one of the funniest lines in this whole movie is the cut to Sinbad where he's like, wait, that was actually a bomb? This is a sick world we're living in.
I love it. I had to pick it as the line I opened with. Like, it's a great moment here.
It's good. It's funny. It's legitimately a good joke. So, you know, I mean, obviously it's a cartoony movie, so we cut back to the police to show that he's okay. It's like a cartoon where he's just got soot in his face and his hair sticking up. He's perfectly fine.
I want to recut so badly where it's just that shot is gone. That's the only difference.
It would feel so dark if you didn't do that, though, to show that he's okay.
Right.
It would be like such a dark scene.
That, and you cut his appearance at the end of the movie. When he comes back at the end, he's not there anymore.
Yeah, but he's kind of necessary, though, to make Arnold run into the backstage area.
Deep fake it, some other cop.
Okay, fine, sure. So Arnold's run off, and he crawls back to his car. He gets some fuel for it in a canister, but when he gets back to his car's been stripped clean.
Maybe I don't know enough about the Twin Cities. I don't feel like they're that crime-ridden, but yeah, maybe.
I don't think it is. I think it's just, again, it's just like, oh, this is the worst day of his life. Like, this is, of course, this is the day this would happen. So, you know. That's it. And this is basically where he calls it quits. He's like, I need to go home. That's it. It's over. Like, I need to go home. My head held down in shame. I failed my boy. Oh no.
I mean, if I were him, I would be at this point like, all right, I'm sure that explosion's going to be on the news. Maybe I could somehow spin it that like the toy was lost in the explosion or something like that.
So he goes home, and Ted's still hanging around with Liz, and they're doing those carolers outside. Actually, the big thing that happens when Arnold shows up with the tow truck is that he sees Ted in the window putting the tree on the star, or sorry, the star on the tree, I should say. And he gets really upset, and we get like this really angry Arnold face. I don't know if it's as angry as the one with the Santas, though, where he looks up angry at them when he sees the toys broken. That one's particularly got a bit of a skull on it.
Yeah, that one's rage. This one's cold, seething anger.
Yeah, he put the star. He's eating my cookies, and he's putting the star on my tree. And to be fair, Liz immediately walks in and says, "Whoa, what are you doing? That's Howard's thing. Take that star off right now," and puts it back in the box. So, you know, like she's sticking up for him. She's doing her due diligence.
Ted immediately tries to pivot of just being like, "Yeah, well, if he were here, but he's not here. He's never here.
It's Christmas Eve, and he's not, you know, adamant about spending that with his family." And then when the carolers show up, and he's like, "Oh, let's go outside," and he drags her outside to listen to the carolers. He puts his arm around her, and she just sort of like dances in a way to like shoot away. Like, no, off you go, away with you.
So bit that we skipped over at the beginning is when he's going out at the first point, and Ted comes up with the reindeer. He specifically says, "Oh, you're going for that Turbo Man doll. I've got one for my kid already safely tucked underneath the tree."
Yep. And obviously he's thinking right now, I hate Ted. I hate you, son of a bitch. And he remembers him saying that, and he looks over at his house, and he's like, "I'll show you." Mother effer.
His moral low moment.
Yeah. Only he didn't say mother effer. That was a reference to last week's movie. So he goes over to the house, he breaks in, and this obviously, again, this is still kind of an escalation in a way, actually, because now he's just, like, straight up doing crime. Like, I mean, okay, I know that he was accepting to buy something from a black market shady dealer, but this is more, like, breaking into someone's house is a lot more of over a line, I think.
I disagree that I think it's escalation, but I do think that the way the movie is framing it makes it feel that much like dirtier. Like they're even before he comes to the moral moment, like because they frame Ted's house as looking like Christmas joy and Christmas cheer and everyone's happy or whatever. And so him coming in and kind of defiling that, it frames in this way of like, you're pulling a Grinch, man. Don't pull a Grinch.
And I think the movie's fair to frame it that way. I think it is kind of like the darkest, because I think that's why it's so important at the end of the sequence. Well, not the end, but like, you know, that moment where he gets the present, he picks it up, and it's wrapped in Turbo Man wrapping paper, making it really obvious what the hell it is. Nice one, Phil. But you know, he gets out the door, and then he stops and goes, "Wait a minute, I'm stealing from a child. Like,
right?
This is awful. No, I can't do it." It's really important, I think, for the audience that he makes that choice before he's like caught. Like the idea that he made the choice to put it back, because then we're like, you know what, he's not an awful person, he's obviously getting really riled up, tensions are high, he's feeling like his lowest moment here with the end of Act 2, you know, particularly once he gets caught, and like, you know, they see that he's, you know, devolved to this as the low point of his character, you know.
Yeah, I mean, him getting caught is like, there's a whole fight between him and the reindeer that then causes a fire that then causes him to have to bail out through like the front glass window. It's a whole thing, but yeah, just boiling it down to he gets caught.
Yeah, I mean, he kicks a flaming like doll, not a doll, like an ornament out the window.
Yeah, one of the wise men from like a not stable. What's it called? Manger scene.
Yeah, manger. And he's like, yeah, because Hartman goes, Balthazar. Like again, I can't do his voice justice. Phil Hartman just has one of those voices that is very special and unique. So the whole thing here though is obviously she gets mad at him and says, looks like you're breaking into the neighbor's house and stealing stuff from the Christmas tree. And he's like, trust me, when I explain it all, and I'm like, Arnold, I don't know if you can explain this in a way that will make it okay. I feel like you did cross a line here that is unexplainable.
Yeah. I feel like his only hope of explaining it is the idea of like, you can see that I'm pleading temporary insanity. Like that's how I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, I think every time I watch it, I always think, as this like bit with the reindeer's happening and the fire starts, like I'm like, as soon as the fire starts, just throw it at the tree so that you're not holding the goddamn thing when they come in, because he's holding the toy in his hand. Just throw it down there with the presents, and it just looks like they've been scattered a little bit because of the fire.
He's too internally like, I cannot let go of this doll for any reason. I get my hands on it, I don't drop it.
Explaining how he's in the house is a bit tough, but maybe he could say, "Oh, I saw the fire, so I rushed in." You know, like there you go.
Looks like the reindeer caused some sort of a fire. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten a wild animal as a pet, Ted.
Yeah, Ted. Yeah. I can't say the word I want to say on YouTube.
Just save for the ratings rundown. We'll get to it.
It begins with a C, everyone. It begins with a C.
Ooh. Christmas time fellow.
So Liz says, "Oh, I'm going to take my son to the parade. Will you drive me, Ted?" He's like, "Of course I will, Liz." And I'm like, "Oh no, we're at the lowest moment here for sure." So he's left alone, and the deer charges at him once again, but now he's angry, so he's like, "You picked the wrong day," and punches the deer in the face, and then like drinks with the deer. Like he's drinking beer, and he pours some beer into like the bowl for the deer.
We cut to everyone arriving at the parade, and when we cut back, he's just like, "All right, we've settled our differences, dear. Like, you want another drink?"
And then he sees the photo or the drawing that Jamie did, and he's like, "You know what? What am I doing? It's Christmas Eve. It's time for me to go and, you know, live up to my promises, you know, and go and be there because I promised I would be." So, you know, off he goes. So he's not even, and this is what's sort of like sweet about the third act, is that he's not even trying to get the doll now. He's just trying to show up to the parade because, hey, I can achieve that one, right? I've not set myself up for failure in that. I can go do that. Let's just go do it rather than feeling sorry for myself. Yada, yada, yada. But obviously hijinks is going to get in the way of that.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, it's like the most minor of it's such a small inciting incident, but then leads to the biggest possible blow up, which is as he arrives back to the parade, we see that the kids have already joined some other friend they see there, and the car is being parked by Ted, and he tries laying down all the moves. Yeah. This is the most emotionally vulnerable point that she's going to go through, and he is pouncing on it. And as we see him laying down the moves, that's where Arnold comes up. He sees this happening, and as he's about to approach, he happens to also see the cop from before. So they lock eyes, he has to run off, and the entire third act just launches.
You say sees, he bumps into him, spilling his coffee all over him.
Oh, is that where that is? Okay, fair enough.
So he gives chase, and he runs into like some back area where like people are getting costumes put on, and immediately someone's like, "Are you the guy? Are you the guy? Yeah, you're the guy. Everyone, this is the guy." I actually love this really dark little speech this, like, you know, like director dude or whoever, or this floor assistant dude gives him. He's like, "Hey, yeah, it's terrible what happened to the guy who was supposed to be here, but, you know, there was some brain some brain activity today, so that's a good sign. You know, like, oh, it's a freak accident. We're assured it won't happen again. We've worked out the kinks. It's all right."
I love that he opens it up with like, "All right, so you read the procedure, so like you know what to do, so I'm just going to walk you through like one or two quick little changes." And then like he just lists off like 15 things about like how every button is now different and everything is now completely separate from what it was before.
Luckily, it's all very intuitive once he's out there. And of course, we don't see what they're putting on him quite yet. I mean, it's obvious if anyone, you know, has a brain, but, you know, they hide it for the reveal. But you see like a POV shot of him looking up at this guy playing Booster. And this is actually a character actor who has definitely been in a bunch of stuff. You may have seen him in other things before.
He seemed familiar, but I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, Curtis Armstrong. He's another guy with a really recognizable voice. Actually, there's a lot of like notable voices in this.
He reminds me slightly of John Louis Leguizamo.
Oh, interesting. That's not who I'd have compared him to, because he's got a short guy energy, and I guess I don't associate that with him.
I mean, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, he's there and he's putting on the booster outfit, and the whole thing is, we get the reveal. Here's Turbo Man, and Arnold comes out in the Turbo Man outfit on the floor, and the main theme's playing. Huzzah. This is actually where I want to pause for a second and talk about another one of my favorite little things in this movie, is the cheesy commentators for the parade crack me up, because they're doing kind of this like safe for TV, like very happy, smiley kind of like, bunch of nonsense really, but there's a couple of lines they have that I really like, because they do like the over the top thing where when they're doing the introduction of them, they both like tap their paper at the same time, on the desk where they're doing the news thing, and it's like, okay, that was kind of funny and over the top to sort of sell just how sort of professionally silly they are. But there's a moment when the whole thing with Turbo Man and the villain shows up, Dementor or whatever his name is, when it's Sinbad obviously that actually shows up, you know what I mean, in the outfit, and they're doing commentary on it, and there's a bit where it looks like Turbo Man's losing, and they basically say, damn, that could be the end of civilization as we know it. And I'm like, but she says it was like a chirpy, like, oh, it's like we're doing commentary for golf or something. Like, it's very laid back and like not a big a deal.
No, this is absolutely, I mean, you don't ever see the presenters, you just hear them, but this is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Like, this is exactly how that's presented, where they have the script. Anytime that there's something special going on, they know exactly what to say and whatever to say it. But like, it's all presented in that presentery voice, at the sickeningly sweet sort of like, oh, and here comes the like Pokemon, whatever. Like they are just reading off the paper. It's clearly have no interest in it, but they are saying it in a way that's like, here we go, everybody.
Yeah, this is a very American thing, actually. I don't think there's an equivalent of this here.
Look, if we have anything at all that we can use to sell a product, we will do it. And let me tell you, that's all the parade is just
I'm sure.
Marketing.
I'm sure it is. And like, I probably would have liked it as a kid if there, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, it's kind of like going to the F1. Like the cars zoom past you, and then you're just sort of standing there in the cold. Like,
oh yeah, no, that's what I just slightly off topic. I have no idea why people go to Times Square for New Year's Eve. It seems like the most miserable experience of all time, and just sitting from home, you get to watch the ball drop. There you go. Great. What else do you need?
The energy, the vibes, the atmosphere, I guess. That's all I can offer you.
Hate it. I hate all of it.
That's fine. I'm not going to argue. So perhaps the biggest coincidence of the movie, or maybe not even coincidence, just convoluted plot point, is that we see the actor dressed up as the villain from the show, Dementor, whatever his name is, and he gets yanked off screen by someone, and it ends up being Sinbad who's stolen his costume. So we get this finale playing out with him as the villain from the TV show and Arnold as Turbo Man. Like, obviously, that's convoluted as shit, but I don't care, because this is kind of like perfect. It's like this, like, who cares? This is not a movie about things making sense in a real world way, right? Like, honestly, the thing that sticks out the most, it feels the hardest to swallow, is the idea that his family don't immediately recognize him, and certainly once he starts talking, why they don't recognize him, because there's a whole thing where like, hey, Turbo Man's going to pick a child in the audience to give this Turbo Man doll to, and it rises up, and he practically hugs it. He's like, oh my god, I've had such a day trying to find you, toy. Oh yes.
Yeah, Booster's like tapping him on the shoulder, just like, hey man, you got to give it away to a kid, and he's just like, no, it's mine, I'm not letting it go.
And then he starts pointing at Jamie, and like Jamie and like Ted's son are sort of bickering. Which, by the way, by this point, Ted's whole seduction of Liz has completely went off the rails. She hit his eggnog back in his face when he tried to pull some moves.
Yep. I mean, he stated his case beautifully. He said, like, look, it started ever since that previous Halloween party. We were talking, and I could tell there's some electricity between us, so let's not fight it anymore. Let's just make this thing happen. And she just didn't respond. So brush it off, Ted. Go back and get any other harem of ladies that you've built up.
Do you know, I actually really like, and I'm not even sure if this is against a trope per se, but I really like that there's never even a hint from Liz that she's ever tempted or is considering leaving Howard or is attracted to Ted. There's never even like a vibe. Like, she's just being completely platonic the entire time, whilst Ted is just acting like a psychopath trying to like seduce her. Like, I like that because I feel like a lot of movies might try and do the thing where they at least want the audience to think that she's considering it or interested, but it never even tries to even float that idea at the audience.
Yeah, no, I like the way their relationship is portrayed here, because even at their lowest moment, when she basically says like, look, you have broken into a neighbor's house, you're stealing this toy or whatever, clearly you've got some issues here. It's still not put in the limelight of, I'm reconsidering us. It's you need to figure out like your priorities here. You need to get back on track here for the sake of us and our son. But it's never a thing where she's putting out like divorce energy or anything like that.
No.
She's absolutely still like, no, clearly there's some problems here. I'm angry. I'm going to leave. But when we come back, we're going to deal with this.
Yeah, I'm mad right now. I need to get away from you for a few hours, but like, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously this gets really silly, but he picks Jamie, he yells out his name, and Jamie's like, he knows my name. And I'm like, yeah, he knows a lot about you, I think. Not hear his accent, kid? But, you know, Liz is like, go on you go, son, run up. And he runs up the float, and the music's blaring, and he hands him the Turbo Man, and it's a whole happy days until Sinbad, with the grapple gun that apparently works perfectly, as well as all his Turbo Man's gadgets all work for real.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, look, kudos to the float designers.
They put a lot of effort in here.
You made an entire jetpack work. That is incredible. Congratulations, you did it. But what gets me more is that they keep on saying, as Dementor comes down, of like, he's here for the fight or whatever, implying there was a whole choreograph thing. And they even say later on, like, don't you know the choreography? I love how, to some extent, they're still following the choreography. Because, like, the people behind the desk, they don't know what's happening, but, like, they're reading their script and they're just like, oh, this is this happening now.
Yeah, although there is one point, as soon as Sinbad comes down, he starts, like, flipping off the audience. Right. and they're like, is that in the script? That was in rehearsals.
All right, well, moving on.
Yeah. But yeah, and obviously all he wants is to get, and even like his like fist that flies off and punches people happens, even though it's clearly his hand in a glove when he's like moving it around. So I don't know what voodoo magic they're doing to achieve that, but that's fine. But anyway, yeah. So Arnold puts the toy in his bag, the kid's bag, and he sort of gets him running off. But unfortunately, there's like a bunch of like villain henchmen who are still just actors in outfits. Yeah, but they come up to fight Arnold.
Yeah, my favorite bit though here is I think it's Dementor ends up pushing Booster off of the float.
Oh, he punches him and says, "No one likes you, Booster," and punches him, and he goes flying.
And then a swarm of kids come from on the street and just start kicking Booster, saying, "Yeah, we hate you, Booster. You suck." And I'm like, this is fantastic.
Is this maybe like some sort of... The only thing I can compare it to in my head is this like a Scrappy-Doo kind of like joke where everyone kind of dislikes Scrappy-Doo?
I mean, I think it's, a lot of TV shows... I would say it's more of an 80s than a 90s thing, but a lot of those 80s shows did have little animal sidekicks. You had like, He-Man had a little snarf sort of character and stuff like that. The comedic relief sort of aspect to it. I feel like this is just making fun of those in general. Yeah,
because I don't think any of the shows I was watching as a kid had the equivalent of this. I was watching Power Rangers, Turtles.
For Power Rangers, it would be Alpha 5.
People like Alpha 5, though.
Not as much.
People. I don't think people hate Alpha 5.
That's fair. I do think it was much more of an 80s thing that just kind of got brought into this.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
So yeah, I mean, this all leads to Jamie like climbing a ladder up to the top of a building and Sinbad's chasing him.
We do get the payoff to the karate though, where in order to escape Sinbad, he kicks him in the nuts.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they had to set up that he knows how to kick someone in the nuts, but they did show that he's doing karate, so fair enough. He knows how to throw a kick. So yeah, Sinbad, like a crazy person, is chasing this child up onto a roof and then onto like a giant like tree display that falls over, so they end up dangling at one point.
Yeah. And like Liz, rightly so, is chasing after them, just like, that's my kid, someone stop them. And then police are like, it's okay, ma'am, it's all part of the story, it's all part of the script.
And she's like, my son's not part of the show.
He doesn't know anything about that.
But luckily, I mean, Arnold uses a bunch of his gadgets during this. He's got like little disc things that fire. He's got like the boomerang's later, but he's got a few things. But he uses the jetpack, of course, and we get the big sequence where he goes flying into the air. And you know what? This isn't a movie that uses the 5.1 mix a ton. Like, the music and stuff sounds good pretty much throughout the whole thing. But as he was zooming around, like past the camera and stuff, it was actually sounding quite good on the audio. Okay. So fair play. And this was at a time when that would have been the original sound mix, probably. That would have just been the 5.1 mix that was made at the time and came out in theaters with.
I mean, audio-wise, I just had my headphones. I wasn't picking up any of that. But I do have to say, visual-wise, it was straddling the line. Some of the shots of him flying around, I was like, all right, that's decently well done. No problem.
Hit and miss, yeah.
Some of them were... The problem is that obviously he was actually flying through the scene, but he was on like a wire and it was way too slow. So all of the footage is sped up, including the crowd like moving out of the way and reacting, and it's super obvious. But the one that got me was there was clearly I'm going to say a green screen shot, but it was a stock footage shot of the Twin Cities, of like the skyscrapers from above. And I swear to God, man, it's just a cutout JPEG of him just flying across for a single shot. It's not good, but the rest of them are hit and miss enough to make it serviceable.
I think it overall is better than I probably would expect it to be. But
that's fair. Yeah.
I think it has some leeway because it's such a lighthearted, family Christmas. But like, in the same way, to go back to like Scooby-Doo as an example, not that it's relevant to the last time I brought it up, but like, the Scooby-Doo live action movie, it's like, okay, here's CG Scooby and he looks kind of really fake and shit, but it's kind of okay because it's not meant to be taken seriously, so you kind of get away with it a lot more. I think in the same vein, like, this didn't have to be cutting edge, CG for the time or whatever.
No, it's absolutely just a family film. It's not like we're going into this saying sci-fi epic Turbo Man. Yeah,
for sure. So it gets away with it, and obviously, ultimately, it uses his boomerang on Sinbad, which doesn't hit him at first, but it's a boomerang. So when it comes back, that hits him down. But then Jamie's losing his grip. He's going to fall to his death and die.
And he does, and the movie ends on that. It's such a strange moment.
Now, Arnold gets the jetpack going and he flies in and catches him, and it's a whole thing. And he's like, you can always count on me, which is Turbo Man's like sign off that he always uses on the TV show. So the movie ends obviously with Sinbad being carted away, holding the Turbo Man doll, and the police give it to Jamie, say, yeah, this is yours, son. And he's all excited and he's like, oh, this is all great. I had a great day, Mom, but I wish Dad was here. And Arnold's like, oh, your father loves you, Jamie. You're the most important person in the world to him. And he's like, how could you possibly know that? Well,
strange Austrian sounding man.
Well, Jamie, it's because I'm helmet off, your father. And then music swells, and then Jamie feels pity on Sinbad's son, whoever it is, and says, hey, you can have the doll, give it to your son. And Arnold's like, I spent all day getting that, you little shit. How dare you give that away? And Jamie's like, who needs a doll? I've got the real Turbo Man at home.
No, Jamie, you don't understand. I have to give this all back in like 20 minutes. Like, keep the doll.
Yeah, I don't get to keep this outfit, kid. But you still get the voucher, the gift thing that he stole from the...
That's true. I like to imagine that Sinbad went through all of this, and then he his kid has to come visit him in prison the next day because, of course, he's going to jail for everything that happened. But his kid comes to visit. He's like, but Dad, I wanted Booster.
Dear. So yeah, the movie basically ends with the music swelling and like Arnold being carried away at the end of a sports movie where they're all like cheering for Turbo Man, and it's like happy endings for all, aside from the little post-credit sequence which does come in, which is him finally putting the star on the Christmas tree. And, you know, Jamie's happy, he's playing with his toy or whatever, or toys down below. And then Liz turns to him and goes, you know, honey, like, hearing about what you went through today, everything you did to get that present for Jamie, man, that was a lot. And it makes me wonder. And he's like, what? It gets very serious. He's like, what does it make you wonder? He's like, well, if you did that for him, what did you get me? And then he turns and looks at the camera as it comes zooming into his face really quickly. Like, oh God, no. I forgot something else.
This gift certificate for a Turbo Man doll.
I mean, it's a cute little post-credits. I think the reason why I discovered this even existed when I did is because it was on TV. So this was at least over a decade ago now. But I think for the TV viewing, they put it before the credits. Like, they re-edited it to move it so that people would see it. Because I think it was, you know, like they're going to shrink the credits down kind of thing. So they wanted the scene to be there first.
That's what they do for all the Marvel movies airing on TV now.
Really?
They just put that right in front of them to say, all right, credits, moving on.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So, no, that's just an interesting tidbit. But, you know, I'd seen this movie probably dozens of times before I knew it was a post-credit sequence. But
before you knew the expanded lore of the Jingle All the Way universe.
The expanded lore that sets up the sequel, Valentine's Day, where he's running around trying to get that one thing that the wife wants. Yeah, dinner reservation. There you go. At Dorcia.
Yeah. There you go. And in actuality, Jingle All the Way 2 came out in 2014, starring Larry the Cable Guy, and is awful, apparently.
I hate that may be an X Reels someday. I've never seen it. Like, I've never seen Jingle All the Way 2.
Same.
Yeah, because, look, I will defend this movie far more than it probably should be defended. I will concede that. But I think it's perfectly good at what it's trying to be. I think it's a fun time. But, you know, lightning in a bottle, man. Like, I don't expect them to capture that magic twice.
I just scrolled down on the Jingle All the Way to IMDb page, and the first featured review is, are there negative stars? Like anti-stars?
Oh, dear. Yeah, between Christmas Vacation 2 and Jingle All the Way 2, we've got Christmas X-Reels episodes in the bag for years to come.
There's a lot of bad Christmas films.
Yeah, but
that's just...
Yeah, but that like, I don't want to go into like the Hallmark shit, because like that's like a whole... Like, that's doing, like, sci-fi original movies for extras.
I don't want to fund Lacey Chabert's entire existence.
Yeah, the joke is we could do a Lacey Chabert season of just bad Christmas movies. She also has, like, 5, like... I don't even know what you call it, but it was, like, 5 movies in the same franchise. I just saw it because it went on sale on Apple a couple of months ago. But it was, like, crossword... thriller or something like that.
Yeah, I've gotten ads for that.
Yeah, and it's all just posters of her and some other detective dude looking very serious, and there's like a crossword at the bottom, and I'm like, how is there 5 of these? This must be for Hallmark or some equivalent channel.
The first one was based off some crime novel, and then they're like, well, we only have one of them, so next one's the Sudoku Killer, next one's the Word Search Killer,
then it's the Wordle Killer.
Yeah. And then finally they just went coloring book killer, and we're out of options.
Connect the dots, yes. Paint by numbers killer. Yeah, very good. All the killers are red. Yeah, that's that.
Where's 7? I can't find 7.
Anyway, Jingle All the Way. I like. Obviously, it's not a movie with a lot of things to like discuss from in terms of like critiques or deep meanings or but. I think the type of person that looks down on this movie is the sort of person who doesn't even know that the movies we do in X-Reels exist, right? They're the people who, this to them is the bottom of the barrel stuff, and I'm not saying that it gets a pass because there's much, much worse out there. I'm not saying that. I think it's better than that. But I think that's the attitude that some people come to these types of movies with, and I get if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but... I do think that there's fundamentals here that I think are all solid enough. I think it's well paced. I think you've got at least 3 or 4 really charismatic actors who are, commanding the screen every second they're on it. Arnold and Phil Hartman being the main 2, but then to an extent, you've got Sinbad doing all right as well, and
yeah. No, I agree with you. I get what you're saying, and I don't think it's as bad. I don't think people see this as like bottom of the barrel, but I do think that there's a certain, I don't know. I don't want to say cheapness, but there's a certain quality to it that I think people just associate these sort of more quickly churned out, like mid to late 90s movies as something that was made to just be on TV or something like that. And I think they look down on that just implicitly. Whereas I think that this one does have a bit more than that, because there are certain movies that are absolutely that sort of tone. But this one has a bit more than that going into it. And I agree, it's probably not worth as much hate as it's getting, but I also don't think that it was ever made with the idea of being a Christmas classic. I think the fact that people latched onto it and have nostalgic for it is kind of incidental to whatever intentions could have been going into it.
I mean, it's a weird debate to me, because I don't want to argue their intent. I don't care what their intentions were.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And this idea that like movies from the 90s can be seen as low effort, when I'm like, this looks so much better than like the crap that's like churned out for streaming today. Like I'll take this over like 99% of the straight to Netflix movies that exist, quite frankly, you know? And some of it's just happenstance, because this was when movies were shot on film, so it just looks better. Not as much as green screened or CG'd in the background and so on. I've been watching some technical videos on YouTube about why movies look so boring now, like a lot of them. And
I've probably seen a couple of those too.
Yeah. And one of the things is that like they kind of do too much of is like, obviously it's great to have like a nice shallow depth of field and all that, but too many movies just never do like a wide shot where you can actually see everything, so the background's always out of focus, and even when it's not green screened, it almost starts to feel like it is green screened, because it feels like they're just not in the background ever. It feels like they're always just standing in front of a flat surface. So anyway, that's a whole other thing, and it's just happenstance. It's the same thing where like I love cheap horror movies from the 80s. Like I love them. I love slasher movies from that time period. And if they make one today, it can be good, but a lot of them just inherently are probably going to look like crap because of how movies are shot now, and just how things are done and whatnot. But
I love watching those videos, the same as you're describing, because it's bringing up things that nobody is not noticing this. Like everybody has understood, but the reasons, the actual things that we're noticing are so hard to put into words. It's so hard to specifically say, this is the thing that has changed over time.
Yeah, because the one I was watching just today, it compared Avatar Way of Water as a good example, and that was notable because, hey, this isn't real. This is all CG, but this actually does the principles that were good about the way films used to be shot, because James Cameron, despite his love of digital stuff, is still a good director. And it compared it to one of the Marvel, Quantum Mania, the last Ant-Man movie, right?
That's punching down, but yeah.
Yeah, but the point is that, look at the density of the environments and the fact that you can see and you can sort of take in the details of everything and all that. Like, you know, even if you're not going to notice it all in a first viewing, the point is that on your periphery there is all these extra details. It feels well thought out. Whereas, you know, in a lot of movies where they go into like a magical world or something, it's just like a blurry mess in the background the entire time. Yeah. And it doesn't, even if they did go to the effort of building a lot of sets, it still feels like worse, you know? There was another good example of how, like that people aren't committing to lighting because they want to be able to edit things in post more, so it means you don't get as dramatic lighting anymore and stuff like that. There's some really good material online looking at just analysing why things... Anyway, this is not relevant to Jingle All the Way, except that it just by happenstance gets to look a bit better. Like comedies never look this good anymore, and I'm not saying this is like a work of cinematic art from a visual perspective. If you compare this to like a Kubrick movie or something, obviously it's not even in the same league, the same atmosphere or realm, but it inherently just looks pretty good for what it is. And you know,
I mean, that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of I kind of wish that the initial Turbo Man sequence was kind of more crappily shot, because it does look good. It looks like a film, and that's obviously carried throughout the rest of the film. It is all actually shot in a way that has solid lighting, solid technicals behind it. I think the biggest critique you can give is that it doesn't feel like it really has a visual identity that is its own. It doesn't feel like there's a director behind it who has a real vision to it.
It's just Christmas. That's basically it. It's just That's all it really is. Yeah. No, but I mean, like I say, good pacing. It's got a simple goal that we could all kind of understand, especially, if we grew up wanting a toy or something. It's kind of what I was saying with A Christmas Story, is that I get the appeal of that type of story, but this one works for me. Maybe it works for me because it's particularly going after my era as a child, and it came out in my era as a child. But I think it works, and yeah. So again, when I say this is good, when I say I like it, like it's good at what it's trying to be, and no more. Right? I don't want people to think I'm trying to sell this as like some great classic movie, because it isn't. But I love it dearly.
I think maybe this is unfair to the movie, but like in terms of another Arnold movie, is there one that you could put like on the same level as this one?
In what way? You maybe need to
well, I mean, like,
bit.
Obviously, when we're talking about, like, this isn't a classic or anything like that. Like, this isn't going to be as great of a movie as, like, Terminator. This isn't going to be
Terminator
like,
is a 10. It's a perfect classic film. One of my favorite films of all time. Yes, on you go.
So in terms of, like, just another Arnold movie, just another thing that people might be familiar with, where would you, like, seat this in terms of just general quality?
General quality? Well, I mean, obviously, Terminators are better. Obviously, Predator's better. Total Recall's better. Do you know what? It's not far away from The Running Man. Like, I feel like they're both fun, cheesy movies. I probably like Running Man a touch more. Like, it's because it's maybe a bit more creative, because it has to create like a dystopian world and stuff with the goofy like characters and whatnot. But in terms of like, craft and quality and like how simple the story relatively is, they're not doing deep things either of those movies. So I can see a comparison between those. Okay. I mean, the best B movie that Arnold's in is Commando. Commando is one of the best B movies ever made. It is a perfect, and we'll do it in the show at some point, whether it's an Arnold season, an 80s action season, I don't know what the season will be, but there'll be a Commando episode one day, I promise you. But Commando is the perfect B movie because it's not high art, it's not got some subtext, it's not anything, it's simply good guy wants to get his daughter back, and it builds up to him being a one-man army and killing a shit ton of people to do it. That's what that movie is, and it's perfect. It's got one-liners, it's well-paced, it's got charisma, it's got fun action sequences, and it just nails every element that it's trying to go for without ever trying to be anything other than a B movie. And that's what a B movie is to me. So when I say something's a great B movie, I guess, Jingle, I mean, it's not as good as Commando, right? It's not, Commando is B movie perfection. This is a good B movie that I have a lot of childhood nostalgia for.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. There you go. So below Commando and around where Running Man sits on my Arnold hierarchy, I guess. All right, David, what are you giving Jingle All the Way out of 10?
You know what? I think in talking about it, I probably have come up a little bit more than I entered the review with. It's got some charm to it. I do appreciate a bit more to it now. I wasn't going in with that high of a score to begin with, to be clear. I thought it was fine as I opened up the review with. So I'm going to bump it up from a fine to a good. It's a 7.
Ah, I've done good work today then.
Good job.
I have righted some wrongs, as it were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think 7 is objectively the right score. I'm thinking about, do I want to give it some extra sauce? Because I have nostalgia for it, because I love watching it, and it does make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I mean, it's definitely in my top 10 Christmas movies. I'm saying that right now.
All right.
Is it top 5? I'd have to think about that. I'd have to actually think about what's in my top 10 before I could say that. But like 1 and 2 are Die Hard and Home Alone, right? That's not pretend otherwise.
I mean, hold on. When's this? You got about a week and a half from this going live to get your list sorted before Christmas.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. Screw the hairs. Right. I love Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sounds good.
So yes.
And then in terms of making the cut,
I think you know where I stand.
Yeah, it's right on that level for me, but I'm willing to tip it over and it makes the cut. I think that this is one where, as long as you go in without the expectation of this being, like, I think that's kind of the thing, is if you go into this with the expectation of it being the heartfelt, like gooey, emotional Christmas movie, that's where it's really going to fall flat. But if you go in expecting pretty much just an Arnold movie, I think you're good. Like, I think you know what you're getting out of it.
Well, an Arnold comedy, to be clear, just because like I think you say Arnold movie, you think action movie first.
I mean, even then, there's some decent, like the third action of this is pretty decent. All of like chasing down kids and whatever. It's not a dearth of action, but it is definitely a comedy first.
Yeah. Put it in the collection. Put it in now. It makes the cut. Yeah.
Please don't do that again. But yes, that's fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. It makes the cut. Very good. Obviously, next time we have one more Christmas film at the ready. And unfortunately, it's one that I don't think I like very much from what I remember. Because I really don't like Will Ferrell. I'm just going to say that right now. But the patrons voted for Elf as the more modern Christmas movie for next week. So that's what we're doing. We're doing Elf. And while I have nothing against Zoe Deschanel, I do not have this weird crush that every other nerd on the internet seems to have on her. So I'm not giving it a pass on that either.
What? No. No.
You sicko. You love a bit of that Zoe Deschanel.
To be clear, it's not from Elf. It's from 500 Days of Summer. That movie just hit me at the right time. I can't not.
I don't care what it's from. You still have it. I know. I'm looking at you. You've got that creepy Deschanel fan look all about you.
That's just my face, Pete. How dare you?
It was Zoe Deschanel, and then everyone moved over to Anna Kendrick, and I think they're like I think they're both fine actors, but I don't have this weird like hyper crush that everyone else seems to have on them.
I mean, in fairness, when I say I had a crush on her, that was like 2010 when the hipster girl thing was all the rage. Like nowadays, I don't think about her that much.
Like, okay, the time might have passed, but certainly, there was a time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
When there was a pedestal and she was put upon it.
Absolutely. I'm not arguing that point. And I did. But then I graduated high school.
Are you still high school in 2010?
Yes, I graduated 2011.
Damn. Yeah, you're 4 years younger than me. I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly 4 years later than me. I guess that makes sense.
I just realized I might be giving away like security question answers at this point. So,
what was the name of your first pet, David?
It was Jimmy the cockatiel.
Yeah, and what was your first grade school?
School 123 Street.
Also, just while we're on the subject, what's your social security number?
543.
Anyway, that is the show, everyone. Of course, you can like, subscribe, all that stuff, and you can support us, which is the main thing I can promote to you here at the end, is patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or YouTube membership if that's more your thing, and you can get access to the bonus ratings rundown segment we do for every episode of Collector's Cut, and for our sci-fi podcast, The Atomic Cinema Experiment. You can get the bonus for all of those via that membership. And also, we do a monthly bonus show called Extra Reels, which we mentioned earlier, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. And one day, we might do Jingle All the Way too. We're not doing that this year. We had another special Christmas disaster picked out for this season. But it's always a chance in a future December that'll be the December episode. But you can get access to that and help support the show and help keep it coming, by doing that. And hey, it's always good, especially if you listen to the audio version, because there's no YouTube ads on the audio version. Go to Patreon, throw in a couple of dollars, helps us out. But thank you for everyone who already does support us, is greatly appreciated. And of course, we'll be back next week with Elf before we move on to our next season beyond that. But that is the show. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We do appreciate it. And to quote one of our patrons, Tyler, to take out this episode: if you give a man a jingle, he'll jingle for a day. But if you teach a man to jingle, he'll jingle all the way.